We're recording. We're recording live, and welcome. Wow, I don't even know what day this is. It's been a something happening with me. I want to talk about tonight, and maybe probably you guys have been experiencing the same thing. And I call it transfiguration.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing process. I've had a revelation of the Mount of Transfiguration for quite some time, for several years, but the Lord just blew it out uh, beyond my current perspective, of what was happening there. So you have this tremendous manifestation, this glory manifestation of Yeshua on the Mount of Transfiguration. To me, back then, what I was understanding, this is Him demonstrating who we already are as a glorified light being. We're sons of light, according to what the words say, right? And so He's manifesting who we already are. And He has Moses and Elijah with Him. And, we've had several conversations. Is that necromancy? No. They're not dead. We're not. That's not the subject of the meeting, but it's been a huge, huge subject with the traditional church age type mentalities. But that was the revelation. Part of the revelation. The rest of it was that here, two of the most spiritual people on the planet at that time had this revelation. Let's build three tabernacles, one for each of you. It's like Jesus going, I said, no, that's not what, you didn't get it this time either, boys. Sit down and let me tell you what's going on. But he didn't tell what's going on. He said, hear my son. This is my son. Hear him. And so what I felt like, in essence, what Yeshua was saying was, I don't want you to build your life or your ministry on a past move of God. I don't want you to build your life on or ministry on the past who's who. I want you to build anything here on earth out of an intimate personal relationship with the Trinity. That was my revelation at the time, and I'm sticking with that. This thing got expanded here with this week, and to move into talking about transfiguration, I had a dream 2 nights ago where uh, I was sitting at this long desk of people sitting in front of computers, and almost like we want the knowledge base from somebody. We're searching for knowledge on the computer. That's good and wonderful. But what has happened was there was this veil, this green veil. It wasn't a cloth type veil. It was a substance, maybe a gel like substance. This was a veil. It wasn't like the veil that was torn in the inner courts and outer court or holy holies. Between there, it was a substance, a gel-like foggy substance that was covering the whole wall right in front. It was the wall right in front of us. But what happened? I could put my hand through it, and what I sensed when I did that, I could see reality as it truly exists. And the Lord began to talk to me, and He said, Terry, there is no veil. The only veil that exists is your false perceptions. I go, oh, that's why I shut down everything. I said, I have to find out where my false perceptions of reality exist, and they're numerous. Search me, O God. See if there's any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Take me to court. And so He's been showing me a lot of things, and uh, list can go on and on. Oneness, unity, immortality. We're going to share some scriptures about Hebrews 11 that I shared today. That unseen and the seen realm. If it's in the unseen, it already exists. Most
Yeah.
of us are hoping that something manifests, we're healed, or we have this financial breakthrough. But if we have the perspective of heaven, it already exists. Let me just go there. We'll just go right there.
Yeah.
Here's 1. Now faith is the substance or the assurance of things hoped for. So hope isn't faith. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence or the conviction of things not seen. So your faith good or bad, is being presented in the courts of heaven. Your lack of faith is being presented in the courts against you by the accuser of the brethren. And your true faith is being presented on behalf of your life, your situation, by your attorney, Yeshua. And so, isn't that interesting? I said, well, how would Jesus, if he was looking at my life, would he say, "Ye of little faith"? I think probably a lot of us, and there's probably situations where he would. Me too. Oh, ye of little faith. But where would he say, "You have great faith"? If you look up that phrase in the Word, there was only, I think, 3 people that manifested what he called great faith, and they weren't the disciples. They weren't the apostles. That's surprising to me. We have to walk in faith. We have to learn and understand what faith is. So I want to get that first tonight. By faith, we understand that the worlds were created by the Word of God. Now, that Word of God is not just the written Logos Word, it's the Rhema Word, it's the dreams, the visions, the visions that you see, it's the prophecies, it's so forth and so on. Everything that speaks with Him as the origin was created, framed by the Word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible. So reality is including everything in the seen realm plus everything in the unseen realm. Now, our responsibility, we talk being a co-creator many, many times, is that we are a co-creator with Him, not doing things for Him, seated in Christ Jesus at the right hand of the Father, speaking only those things we see Him, or speaking those things we hear Him speak, and doing the things He shows us to do. And so out of that, we become a co-creator, and the manifestation accelerates or comes out of the unseen realm and manifests in the seen realm. So a lot of there's a divine paradox between who we already are. We're already as He is, so are we in this world, because He says that in a present tense, right? But there's also this process of getting to that 100% manifestation that we already are. Or, it's kind of odd that He says these things that already are supposed to be, and that's the true reality, but our veil, our perceptions, our false perceptions has created this veil that we don't see ourselves like that. When we tear that veil down in our mindsets, in our heart motives, in our actions, and in the words that we speak, because we are a co-creator, the words we speak, whether negative or positive, are creative. So we've created our own reality. So we need to begin to create what is written on our scrolls and walk in the blueprints of our scroll to begin to manifest that out. By faith, we walk in the currency of heaven to begin to release that and manifest that, accelerate that manifestation here on earth. So I've been challenged in a lot of things I say too. And a lot more and more lately, my prayers have been speaking to those things that are not as though they were, because they already exist. Many people have said, if you see it in the eternal realms, maybe in a dream, maybe in a vision, or whatever, it's already existing, it's already there. The glory realm, heavenly realms are a glory realm, and they're outside of the realms of time, space, and distance. So it's already there. Our function as a co-creator, as He is, so are we in this world, to begin to cause that manifestation to happen on this earth. And if we're dealing off the earth, cosmos, creation is waiting for us to begin to step in. I've had this wonderful honor where I go. I didn't know what was happening when I first began my journey. Sean and I were talking about my 7-year journey in my van, began to notice that I had this really weird interaction with creation. That everywhere I went, there was this odd shift in nature, a shift in the weather patterns when I showed up. And it was just completely, seemingly accident. I knew it wasn't accidental by God. Something was going on that I had to figure out. I figured out a couple of years later that I was this governmental, legislative, and judicial son that caused a shift, created what was in the unseen realm to begin to shift just because I showed up. And if you look at the Bible, I'm going to do a really good uh, uh, study on Jacob. There's a story in Jacob in the Targum, the Pseudo-Jonathan Targum that I'm reading. I'm really having trouble reading any modern day English translation right now because I'm reading some ancient translations that are telling the true story, all the mystic stuff that's in there. It's mind blowing. It talks about how Jacob was he came into a land. This one's just one story. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were really tremendous. I'm looking back into the Torah because the Torah is the constitution of life. And I'm going, Jacob, when he came into a territory, there was a well that was dry. And the story says in the Targum that he took one arm. It took several men to move the stone that was over this well. He moved it with one hand. So he had this supernatural strength that he was operating in. He moved the stone out of the covering the well, and the well opened up and began to flow. Now he was in the land for 7 years, and all the wells in where he was opened up. And so when he left 7 years later, all that well and all the other wells shut down again.
Yep.
Could you imagine walking in that kind of governmental authority? I think we can, because these guys were just the prototype. They were just the foundation of things to come, and we have a much greater promise, and we have, the responsibility and anointing and mandate to be co-creators with Him. And I think a lot of people think we have to go preach a message or something. No, you are the message. You are the open heaven. You are the gate. Psalm 24, you are the gate. You are the portal. You are the manifestation on heaven and earth. I have a lot of stories that happen, and it still follows me. I used to it just happened kind of coincidentally, and I knew it wasn't a coincidence. I knew it wasn't an accident. Now I'm being more intentional about engaging creation when I'm going heaven and earth. I'm engaging heaven and earth, all creation when I come into a scene. Like when I go down to Florida, I'm not preparing a message. I might have a general idea. I'm going for courtrooms of heaven intensive. That's it. But I'm watching and paying attention to creation. What is creation wanting me to do?
Yeah.
What is creation speaking to me? What is God speaking to me through creation to begin to set the captives free, set creation free from the bondage of corruption? So everything is becoming ordered by what's happening around me and in me, what He speaks in dreams and visions. He told me to tear up my notes a few years back when I was trying to be, Mr. Prophet, and tear up your notes. What makes you think you have to have a worship team? Well, you said it. I guess I don't. I'll get rid of the worship team. So we had such glory encounters in Reno, in a casino of all places, where He orchestrated everything. And I had to learn to be obedient. Sometimes I didn't have the message. One time there was I had intercessors come in like an hour before. I was there 2 or 3 hours earlier, just laid out on the floor, just soaking, waiting for Him to give me some direction. Sometimes He didn't give me anything. And I stood up and I said, God, I don't have anything. What do you want me to do? Here the intercessors are in a gathering up front of people. And God said, it's already started. Just open the door, let everybody come down, let the intercessors have them. So that's how the meeting started. There was several meetings where we just went like that, totally obedient to the Lord. So I learned that what was happening there was a governmental characteristic, a governmental glory. that we begin to see and understand. We didn't quite understand it was governmental. We just thought glory back then, because I just came out of David Herzog's meetings in Sedona for a little over a year, and Jeff Jansen and Joshua Mills. Those were the glory boys that I studied. Ruth Heflin was the Mama Glory. I read some of her books. It's like, oh yeah, this is where. And I'm just fresh out of the apostolic and prophetic, and we're talking about glory, man. This is like, I feel then like I feel now, the transition that's going on, because
Yeah.
that was it for me. Because apostolic prophetic was everything about everything. And now the courts of heaven and the glory, our identity and authority is really coming alive. But I haven't got started on my. I got notes here. I've got stuff that we're. So you guys, if you want to share anything, just jump in with me. It's okay. I don't know if you saw my story about my post about transfiguration, where I asked, "How's your own personal transformation going?" Did you read that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty. Let's see. I'm going down, since you can go back and read that, because we might have a lot to talk about tonight.
From glory to glory to glory.
Yeah, ever increasing glory. Some of the versions say ever increasing glory, so it should get more and more and more intense. Uh, our perceived, our false perceptions of reality, what he began to speak to me about. I realized that, although, as I mentioned it earlier, although that's a fact of who I am, it's the truth. As He is, so are we in this world. That we already are one with Him, but I'm not fully manifesting that. I ask two questions everywhere I go in ministry and the intensives I do, and a lot of the stuff online I do. Number one is, who in the room is manifesting as He is, so am I in this world 100%? And I can't even raise my hand on that one.
Right.
And I think that's the goal. I think that's God's greatest promise to mankind. And then I ask, who's manifesting 100% heaven on earth? Nobody can raise their hand there either. So we're missing. We have all these false perceptions that that seem to be a false veil that we've created just because of our false perceptions. And I think we need to deal with those false perceptions in the courts. Judge me, try me, search me, O God. There's a lot of scriptures that say, ask God to help us. God, do with me. I mean, we've all made this prayer, right? God, do with me whatever it takes to get me where you want me to be. And we prayed that years ago when we first got saved, and all of a sudden He starts doing it more intensely, and we go, oh, I'm going to enter warfare. It's a demon. It's like, well, maybe not. Maybe you need to inquire of the Lord, God, where do you want me to change? Because all things work together for the good. And I've just been reading Pharaoh. And in the Targum, it talks about, well, the normal translations say God hardened his heart, right? But in the Targum, it says God fashioned the design of his heart. That's an interesting thing. What He's allowed us, He's fashioned the design of those against us, probably, and He's fashioned our own design of our heart to begin to cry out to Him, to begin to search Him, to find the wicked ways in me, in my heart, in my mindsets, in my actions, and in my words that have caused me to create this false veil, my false perceptions that have shut me down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm finding out so much junk in my trunk, I just have to go shake my head, because it's stuff coming out. It's like you start praying those prayers and He'll answer you, and you better get ready. Uh, so I don't think it's really so much about revival, especially when we're trying to dig ancient wells. I don't think it's necessarily about reformation. I think it's about a great awakening
Hmm.
to our identity and our authority. And I think it's about a transfiguration going on. What he told me, Terry, it's not all that. It's about a personal transfiguration, that you would become the full manifestation of as He is, so are we in this world. on an individual basis. And I go, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to just jump into this one. I plan to start a 10-minute tutorial, Courtrooms of Heaven. That hasn't happened yet. A lot of things I just put back. I'm just gonna hang out with you, God, and you transfigure me, just like Jesus was transfigured on the Mount of Transformation. You transfigure me. I like another word. I like the word transubstantiation. Look that one up. That was what Enoch experienced. It was, if you guys read the book, it may be kind of weird to some of the people who are going to watch the recording. A transubstantiation is a miraculous transfiguration. Enoch was transubstantiated from a human being into his cherubic nature as an angel, Metatron. So you're free to disagree, like Justin Abraham, but that's what I believe actually happened, and I think the Lord has revealed some things to me that I'm not free to share, but that is possible for you and me to walk in that, back into our cherubic nature. Adam and Eve were in their cherubic nature before the fall.
Inside out.
Inside out, yeah, yeah. Woo.
Dang.
It's so good. It's so good. But I looked up some things I don't want to talk about. You can look up things like Ellsberg paradox, how we tend to not move beyond our expected facilities. Where we've been, we tend to move according to our comfort zone, and if it violates that, we're not going to move. Cognitive dissonance is another thing you need to look up. The mental stress or discomfort experienced by an individual who holds two or more contradictory beliefs. So, all this new, behold, I do a new thing. It's actually not new. I do nothing new under the sun. So it's a revealing of these ancient pathways that are a problem to a lot of people. I booted a lady off the group because she just wanted to argue that we were part of the NAR, whatever crazy stuff. She saw pictures of me with Todd Bentley and Kat Kerr and others. Said, well, that's a picture. You don't even know me. And she kept arguing about me. I finally said, well, I'm not going to argue with you. You're welcome to disagree. And maybe this group is not for you.
Right.
So I removed her, and I've removed several people.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to be bold. But I've got more in there about Nancy Cohen, something she said is that we're a creature of habit. We think already we know how to do this, we know how to do that, but all of a sudden God flips the switch and releases something new, and now I said, no, I like what I'm doing. I like my ministry title. I like my network. I like, my platform, and that's disrupting the whole thing, and it's going to mess it up. People are going to leave me if I start embracing these mysteries of God. It's going to mess my ministry up. I'm going to lose some finances, and God dealt with me about that a long time ago, and I said, well, you're my provider. You're the one who builds the church, so you're the one who builds my ministry. And I said, God, you're my source. Man is not my source. You are. And since COVID, I've created 4 more income streams the Lord gave me, and I've made more money during COVID and shut down. Haven't been traveling ministry. The only thing I've done is Ocala a few times, and online stuff. But there's been more income than, like 3 years worth of traveling on the road. I'm grateful for the traveling. I want to get back to traveling, but I want to be in His divine purpose. I want to be in the center of His perfect will. And one thing He asked me to do, He said, Terry, one day, like a year ago, He said, Terry, I want you to do this. I want you to make a heavenly trade with me. Trade with me the times that you walked in my good and pleasing will. Make a heavenly trade and trade them for my perfect will. I go, oh, I know what you're talking about there. The last time I've lived in Destin for 3 different times for 15 years. The second time I came here, thinking it was the word of the Lord. I was in Mobile with my family, and I said, I'm just going to drive over to Destin. I negotiated with God, or kind of in my own mind probably, that, Lord, if there's a Whole Foods in Destin, that'll seal the deal for me, and I'm going to move over to Destin. And I drive into town. There wasn't one before. I'm driving into town, and there was this brand new Whole Foods up there. It said, grand opening, Terry's Whole Food. I saw Terry written in there. My own personal Whole Foods store in Destin, Florida. And
That's
so
awesome.
I'm moving over here. Everything was flat. Nothing worked. I tried to do meetings here out of the old apostolic prophetic movement I was in here. Nobody was getting me. Nobody was understanding me. Nobody was coming. And so there was no grace and favor on that. In other words, I don't think it was written on my scrolls. So I was just operating under his good or pleasing will. I don't know which one. I know it wasn't his perfect will. Now I just sit back. I want to find your perfect will. I want to know what's written on my scrolls, and I want to know the blueprint to walk that out. And Todd and I and Timothy Bent's been talking about, we want to launch this governmental thing, but we don't have the blueprint yet. So we're just sitting on it till we find how we're going to do that. How we're going to I'm going to use the word ordain, but it's not ordained like you've been ordained in the Southern Baptist Convention. It's not jumping through the hoops. It's who has a governmental authority to govern, legislate, and be a judicial son in a particular city or sphere, region, state, or a nation. Yes, that's what we're waiting on putting together God's way, His perfect will. So we just talk a lot about good things, good ideas, right? It's kind of fun and inspiring, but we just have to sit back and wait. We don't know the real deal of it. So that's kind of it. And there's just a tremendous part of Transfiguration. I want to know what you're experiencing. I want to. Sean and I talked a little bit. You can share some of that again, Sean, if you want to. I know probably all of you are going some kind of transfiguration, transition. I don't even call it transition anymore. I will, but I always go to transfiguration. I think that is really what's happening because Jesus was our prototype. He was our example that he wanted us to become that son of light that we govern out of the glory realm, that we legislate. We're a judicial son just because that light is overruling any lower form of darkness when we show up. And sometimes we'll have to use maybe some words or actions. Just think, it's going to be really, really good. I know that it's going to be good. It already is. I'm so excited. So what do you guys think? What's happening in your life with transfiguration?
I'd be happy to share. So, gosh, for me, it's all the learning in the journey that I'm doing. I love this journey. There's always something new, engaging every day, working with Karina in the Revolution is Here for the kids. Love that. I went to her mystic retreat, and wow, that was amazing what happened there. Absolutely amazing, life-changing. Yahweh showed up in our engagement when we were working on activating our Merkaba. We went through, and Mary Magdalene was singing through. So it was way, way, way cool. We did an Anipi. I don't know if you know what that is.
No. Explain.
Timothy probably would. Timothy Bentz would. It is a Native Indian ceremony. Have you ever heard of Sweat Lodge?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yep. So we went and did that, and it was all women. And then the shaman, and he had 2 assistants. And I think the most amazing thing that happened there was the respect for where they were in their walk with their great spirit, with their forefathers, and where we were. It was Karina had, when we were in there, Karina had their forefathers show up to her. But it was just so cool that we could come together. We weren't in the same exact place, but everybody's heart was. So for me, it's just being able to sit in the heart of the Father and go to the next thing and the next thing and learning the next thing and then sharing it with others. I don't know if you know, I'm teaching with Nina and Mary this semester, and then next, and so I'm just having the ride of my life. I don't know how else to say it. So
Yeah,
that's
I
what's
am
going on
too.
for me.
I am too. It's just so exciting, and I almost can't wait to go to sleep at night because there's a dream coming about something about me. Job 33 says, "I give dreams to seal man's instructions." There was another one, but the most important one I feel was to save man's soul from the pit. And I have a lot of those dreams because he identifies things in my dreams that I need to really, what's going on in me. And so, yeah, that's awesome. My time in Sedona, they did a lot of the Sweat Lodge thing,
Yeah.
and David Herzog was really. I spent a little over a year with them, and
Yeah.
had some amazing meetings and ministries, and got connected with several Native American people there. Yeah, love
I
them.
mean, even Karina did a repentance on behalf of us, the Christians, and the way we treated it. And I was in Ocala when Tim had shared his the walk of tears, or the Trail of Tears. Was that what it was? The Trail of Tears?
Trail of Tears, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so we and how they couldn't even on their own land have ceremonies. It's like the 60s, like outrageous. But anyway, it is just really cool. I don't know, what can I say? This is a great ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, Timothy is really, really knowledgeable about the Trail of Tears.
Yeah, and you guys gotta come back to Ocala.
Yeah, yeah. So things are shaking. I believe, it's really, we can call it shaking if you want. I believe that's true. He first shakes the church, and I just want to encourage you to be sensitive when you feel that frustration or disappointment or anything negative. You might want to consider it a shaking. You might not want to think, well, inquire of the Lord, find out if that's demonic based, or is that Yahweh shaking you for you to come into the realization of things that are a wicked way. Maybe it was the last move of God. Maybe it was the church age things that were deep ingrained in all of us. They are in our generations for sure. And so he's identifying those things by shaking us and using real circumstances to identify those things, along with dreams, visions, and our friends, and whatever he needs to. I like that, Deuteronomy, I believe it's 32, talks about heaven and earth will witness against you. Choose life. Remember that scripture? There's two scriptures in there in Deuteronomy that talk about that. Heaven and earth will witness against you. And when I'm teaching about our courtrooms of heaven legal team, heaven and earth can witness in the courts either for you or against you. So if there's generational curses on the land, like from the Trail of Tears, just use that as an example, there's going to be iniquity resting on the land, and maybe nothing's working out in your life. Maybe all hell is breaking loose, everything you try to do. So what about turning that around, flipping the switch, operate in the courts of heaven as a governmental, legislative, and judicial son, remove those iniquities so heaven and earth can now begin to bless you. And so I don't know if you found out or heard about the story of Almalanga, Guatemala. Years ago, it was there was a lot of crime. They barely could grow a crop. I don't remember the whole story. It's been probably 30 years ago now. How they began to seek the Lord and repent and from all their wicked ways, and all of a sudden heaven opened up and like carrots were the size, huge, huge produce, and they're all about all the jails shut down, the prostitution shut down, the crime, alcoholism shut down, and all of a sudden God started blessing the land. Heaven and earth was blessing them, and so they began to have Mercedes trucks that brought 4 or 5 harvests a year to market. It's just an amazing story. I believe God's going to set us up to be blessings like that. We might be. I always think, can a nation be saved in a day? Can one person make a difference? Well, yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Maybe that person is you. Maybe it's me.
Yep.
Well, we walk into Alma Longa, Guatemala, or wherever you live in Ocala, or or wherever you are, and all of a sudden God gives you this. Uh, Something shifts in you, something transfigures in you, where you become that governmental portal that opens up everything in that region,
Yeah.
everything in your city, everything in your business, your mountain. If you subscribe to the mountain mandate, I don't so much, but it's pretty cool how he could use any of us, because creation is not waiting for the fivefold ministry, right?
Right.
Right.
They can apply, they can be a part of it, but creation says they're waiting for the sons, the manifest sons, the mature sons. Huios is that word for sons. So God is waiting for the mature sons. He's maturing us through this process that we can. And I love the part where He just uses us along the way to encourage us. And like me, I didn't even know what was happening. I said, this is a of understanding what it's about now. How I'm a governmental being. When I show up, that the weather is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's more intentional. And I'm finding out. I went to New Orleans one time, and it was first time I've ever heard. As I was engaging, I didn't know of any specifics, but I knew when I go there, something's going to happen. So last time I was there, it was the first time they publicly announced there was uh, a cyber attack on the whole city. Uh, and I said, they put out, I don't know, it's a warning or something like that. I don't remember quite what was happening, but did I cause that? Did I open up that realm that exposed a bunch of criminal activity and the internet around the Wi-Fi systems that they got exposed? Probably they've been there a long time, but they have to use little uh, techniques to begin to know they can go into bigger things. So that's probably been there, but while I was there, that got exposed. And so it's like,
That's awesome. That when Ian Clayton would come to Sarasota, he's been there a couple times, same place you were at the church in Bradenton. And the first time we were there was the first time Nina was there. That's when Mary and I met Nina. And our cell phones wouldn't work. The towers had been compromised because he was there. So it is what you carry, whether it's the vibration and or frequency. It does mess with
yeah.
the surroundings. So no doubt.
Yeah, were you a part, Kathy, of our Florida legislative team? Were you a part of that?
Yeah.
I mean, just the results out of
How
that.
many hurricanes that did not hit Florida?
12,
Uh,
12.
I was in a group. It wasn't Florida. I mean, I'm in that group too. But some of us that have stayed together, we're doing Zooms twice a week. That we're in New Mexico. So when the weather was supposed to hit, the manufactured weather was supposed to hit Miami from the building that had come down because there was evidence in there that would incriminate. It never. So we prayed that we were ascending and the whole thing for that. It never even touched Miami. They got a little rain. And
Yeah,
by the time, and so if we had prayed and we had seen what was going to happen and we were, what you speak creates reality. And I slept through the night. My sister's like, "Did you hear the wind? At 1 o'clock?" I said, "No, I didn't hear anything. There was hardly any debris, hardly anything."
yeah, yeah. It got so crazy in Florida. We went after it initially for the politics there, and they had
Yeah.
planned to have Republican National Convention in Jacksonville, and they moved that back up to wherever, Charlotte, I think. And we don't know what reason, but we felt like it was probably some kind of attack planned on the Republicans, probably Trump. And but what has happened was we were doing that. A lot of us were from Ocala. Ocala was voted the number one chamber of commerce in the nation shortly after that, which is kind of crazy. And as we're going, and then all of the professional teams won the championship for last year,
What crazy
baseball.
was that? I know.
And Tampa Bay Lightning just won the second
I know.
Stanley
And
Cup.
that's unheard of.
It's
And
unheard of.
yeah,
And everybody wants to move here because of Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis.
Don't you remember when the last time we were in Ocala, because I'm down here in Clearwater, that basically what was said was, as the United States goes, so does the world. But Timothy had said, as Florida goes, the United States will go. But it's so if you go back, it's as Florida goes, the world will go.
Yeah.
Because the United States is going to catch on to what's happened in Florida, what is happening in Florida.
Yeah.
Everybody loves our governor.
Yeah.
Everybody wants him. So it has been, like I said, the journey's awesome.
Yeah, and more stuff is happening. We kind of disbanded the group there, and
But we're doing it. We're still keeping it going.
Okay,
so
good.
We were on about 2 weeks ago. We had the Killingsworth and our group here.
Okay.
Our women in our area, we get together once a month.
Okay, good. I felt my part was just specific.
Yeah, no, we're not done.
Yeah, I felt my part was specifically for the hurricanes.
Yeah.
And I felt like, well, I'm done, so I stepped out of it. And I'm glad to hear you guys are still going. One thing he did tell me about the hurricanes, he said what we did there was good for a year, that we need to still govern for this year.
And we are.
Okay,
Yes.
Good. And John,
We had some great,
Gainesville, and I'm in Panhandle, and it's good stuff, man. I'm excited. It's like, that's just like, we had a model of something that really, we had no idea that it would work as good as it did and be as effective as what it was, and so that was tremendous. I've got recordings, the recordings of everything that happened right shortly after we governed a couple of times, and
we even have governed since then over the harbors and the different places where the ships can come in and out so easily in Florida. So
yeah, and it wasn't yelling and screaming and binding and loosing.
No.
Government. It was repentance. It was removing the legal rights in the courts, and it was powerful. And that's what we want to duplicate. Timothy and I had talked about that, and about duplicating that in other states, and that's kind of on hold right now. But that's a tremendous model.
And that's going to be part of the, I'm trying to think of just the right word, part of the passing on what Florida's done. That's why the United States will follow the same pattern you've already set.
Yeah. And if you guys do it, we bless you.
We're going to keep it up, and you just get going. And when you, like, say, if you go north and hit Georgia, and then you hit North Carolina, South Carolina, however you go, or you go towards the west or whatever.
Yeah.
So all of the United States is covered.
And it doesn't matter who you are. You don't have to have a certificate. You're an apostle or anything. You have to have it.
Yeah, when you get to Michigan, they can go to Canada.
Yeah. That's so cool. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
Anybody else want to share something?
Hey, Terry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
We fine. We good.
Well, I just wanted to jump in real quick because I was listening to something you said earlier, and that's really been on the what I felt the Lord was talking to me about earlier today. He was late. I know earlier in a couple sessions, we were talking about how I kept saying that the season, Lord talks to me in the season about all creations during one of your sessions about all the creation. And I knew the Lord was saying it was new beginnings, yellow is life, and all those things. But I start seeing blue, and I was like, man, where's this royal blue coming in? Every time I turn around, I keep seeing royal blue. God, you're trying to tell me something else. What's going on? When I was looking at the seven spirits of God, it was the spirit of wisdom. It was like, now it's time to take all the knowledge that you know and apply it. And I was like, oh my goodness. But Earl, when you were talking about faith at the very beginning of this session, that's what he gave me in James, because he gave me James 1 and 2, and it was like your works. And I was like, what are you talking, like, what are we going at? But it keeps evolving around the faith. Everything's going to have to step out on faith. It's going to have to be out of the comfort zone. You're going to have to do something to see the faith being processed, like co-laboring together. When you work, it's going to come. You're going to see the fruits of the labor of your faith when you're doing something, when you're stepping out. So when you're asking me what is the new season, I went ahead and launched the business, and I was like, okay, this is that faith thing of the works. You're going to have to do it even though you don't see it. And I think that's a lot of things that are going around for a lot of people right now, that they're in transition of mindset and trusting God at a higher dimension, to see the miraculous, to see blessings, to see God move, to walk into what you were talking about earlier, their divine scroll, their destiny scroll, where it's not hard, where they're not going against the soil, that they're going to see the fruits this time.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in the car, so I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting point, because I feel like he's taken me up over the earth several times, and he's had me close some portals, demonic portals. I had no idea what they're about. He just said, close them. And I didn't know how to close them. And there was such a fear of the Lord that came upon me, because I don't want to do anything that would profane his perfect will. So he's having me practice along the way on some little things, then I'll be ruler of much, right? But I'm having this experience where God, I don't want to, because I'm a creator too. I don't want to create something out of my own mind. I don't want to create something out of my own will. I don't want to create something out of my own flesh. So I think really out of this transfiguration, this transition, that we need to, I'm really, really echoing a more intimate time with the Lord, that we get beyond our current perceptions, our false perceptions that worked yesterday in the church age, but are not going to work today in governing age, if you want to call it that, kingdom governmental age, government of the kingdom of heaven age. So it's like he's examining, he's testing, he's judging everything in me, so that I would be a mature man. I like Hebrews 11:3, not Hebrews 11:3, but Ephesians 4:13, that says we'll come to a mature man. Other versions say a perfect man, to the stature of the measure of the fullness of Christ. So like most people in the fivefold ministry just conveniently leave that out, because it's all about me, and I, and my network, and my ministry, and my finances. But he wants each and every one of us to come to that place of the fullness of Christ, as he is our way in this world. So I believe that's really his heart's desire for us right now, that the world is in. I mean, he allowed all this stuff that's happening right now in the governments of the world. He's allowed all this stuff to be exposed about sex trafficking. He's allowed that. And he asked us, don't touch it in the courts. He said, I have a divine purpose, because I want to open up. I need to expose some things so that we can begin to deal with the wickedness, not only in us, but secondly, that we can begin to rise up as a group or as an individual, that we can begin to govern over those things that have been hidden and swept under the rug for years and years and years and generations after generation. And I'm going, the elections came on, and people were asking, you guys going to go to the courts and that? And just somebody yesterday asked me if we were going to go to deal with COVID in the courts, and I said absolutely not. He told me not to. It's like we want to have this zeal. We got to deal with everything in the courts. It's the latest, greatest thing. And he said, no, don't touch it. I have to expose these things that need to be exposed because you have no idea what's working under the scenes or behind the scenes. And so we just have to sit back and allow him to do it and only do what we see the Father do. Always inquire of the Lord because I don't want to profane in my creative abilities uh, anything less than his perfect will. That makes sense?
Perfect sense.
I have one thing that might be a little simple. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. With me, I've always been so animated that if you looked at me, you knew I was angry. Or if I was joyful, people would like back up because she's so crazy. She's in her little joy moment. But I did have a vision with me. It was 3 years ago. I've been wanting to get back ever since. I don't know how long it lasted, but I was laid out with the glory of the Lord. And I saw myself, he was beside me, but my countenance was solid. It wasn't this big, glorious, powerful coming back with Jesus to rule and reign. All it was solid. And I didn't even have to speak things, but I knew why I was coming back with him. And I knew the things that were to take place. And my countenance didn't shift. And so ever since then, my prayer has been, we're wrapped up in salvation, and he's raising us up as sons of God. I believe all that, the whole creation moans and groans for the revealing of the sons of God. And I'm like, that's when I discovered that I was a son of God. And it wasn't this thing. The governing is all new to me. So I'm really illiterate about all that. I'm just now learning all that. But it makes so much sense because he allowed to see what my salvation was. It wasn't just to go and spend eternal life with him, but it was to come back with him. And so that's my prayer, was to prepare me. And recently, if it's to govern, and if it's, at the gates and to rule judicially or whatever I'm supposed to do, reveal what I'm supposed to pray for and what I'm supposed to do and what I'm supposed to work towards. And he's starting to open that up. And it's like, when I'm coming, things are going to get, the push of holiness and purity is going to be more evident. Because let me tell you, I was of ill repute, and I've never tasted holiness until I got, saved by Jesus, and not the first because I just went, when I asked Jesus in my heart, I dove into sin really bad 25, 30 years ago, maybe 35. And so now holiness is like, and I might be saying this wrong, y'all, please forgive me, but it is a ruling factor. It is a governing factor. To me, it is. And that holiness is because of the world being so evil. He is raising those with solid. And that's why I think all this revelation the past few years about the government, we've got to learn all this. We've got to experience all this, because when he's coming back, and those that are coming back with him, we won't waver. We'll be solid. We'll be so solid in salvation and the truth of God and his holiness, that's where and he kind of told me that miracles and all of these things would take place before we come back. And it's all a preparation. So for me, that transfiguration was from this silly, animated face of response to it's time to get serious. And he let me taste me seeing myself coming back with him. And it was solid, and it was truth, and it was holy. And it was like we were coming back with him, and we knew everything that was, everything that is, and everything that is to come.
Yeah.
So that to me was what the transfiguration was
Yeah,
about.
amen. That's good. Let me ask you a question, all of you. If it's true, and if it's in present tense, which it is, as he is, so are we in this world, how would we speak? How would we act? Many of us now are operating out of our limited humanity or our false perceptions rather than our divinity. Our
Yes.
divinity is already available because he said you already are. As he is, so are you in this world. How would things need to change in me for me to begin to practice that by faith instead of waiting? And the church age was this is a lot of our mindsets of false perceptions. We have to wait, contend, and tarry and press in. You even voiced that. The kingdom age is a matter of stepping in by faith. So I step into, let's just imagine yourself, or just by faith, you're stepping into that substance of what already is. By faith, I'm stepping into, as he is, so am I in this world.
Amen.
So that's an accelerator to the manifestation. If I'm always sitting back waiting for something to happen, what has to happen for me to step into that? I don't know. But by faith, he wants us to live by faith, move by faith. Because in him we live and move and have our being. He is faith.
Well, right. Well, nothing else pleases him.
Yes.
I want to please him.
So how would we govern if we're a co-creator with him? Would we continue to pray and plead and beg? No. We would make a declaration as a king that speaks to those things not the things that are not as though they were, right? Or whatever he shows us to say or to do. So I think it's a radical transition. It's a radical transfiguration in literally everything about you and me that has to take place so that we'll come into the fullness of manifesting that as he is, so am I in this world.
Right.
Like,
well, it was also with the fact that, the centurion, Jesus said his faith, loved his faith, but it was because he knew his authority. He says, I know my authority. And that's what Jesus was pleased with. So we got to know our authority.
Yeah. I'm looking at something right now from the Targum that I found reading a couple of days ago that it's not said in modern day translations. There was 4. You guys got a minute?
I do.
Let me find it. Hang on a second. But it said 4 divisions of the people that were facing the Red Sea that were complaining. And it doesn't say that in modern day translations that I'm aware of, but let me find it.
Terry, while you're finding that, may I say something?
Yes, please.
Part of our transfiguration is to, just like you said, as he is, so are we, is actually recognizing what our position is through our blueprint. And so once you have embraced your position of who you are, who he says you are, and you are operating out of the heart of the Father, that's your foundation. You do nothing outside of that.
Amen.
I agree.
So it's your position. Who does he say I am? Does he not say we're kings and priests?
Yeah, King of Kings, Lord of Lords.
And we're maturing sons, and we will come into full maturity of sonship. But it's the journey.
Yeah, it's a journey, a paradoxical journey of a journey to something we already are.
Yes.
Listen to this, Exodus 14:13. You can look in your version. She says, 4 parties were made among the sons of Israel on the shore of the Red Sea. One said, let us go down. And I mean, when I'm reading these, there's four divisions, four parties. See if you fit into any of these groups in a new move of God, what He's doing. Four parties. One said, let us go down into the sea. That sounds like, just get me out of here. Rapture theory, or I just want to die. I don't want to face this new thing that's
Yeah.
about to happen. Let us go down in the sea. Another said, let us return to Egypt, right? Let's go back to the old church age, the way we
Always.
always did things, what always worked. Let's go
Yeah.
back to that. Another said, uh, let us return to Egypt. That's the second one. Let us set against them the line of battle. Now, nowadays, we're learning to get off of the battlefield, traditional
Mm-hmm.
battlefield mentality, and move into governing mode. So here they wanted to go back, they wanted to war. Another said, the last one said, let us raise a cry against them and confound them. That's just totally radical, like the walls of Jericho kind of thing, sound like to
Yeah.
me. But that was a place and a position where they wanted to go back to something that worked yesterday. A glory manifestation that worked yesterday, but it's not good for today. And Moses rebuked them all, and he said that they were all wrong. He said, let us go, let's see. To those who said, let us go down into the sea, Moshe said, fear not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which will be wrought for you today. To the company which said, let us return to Egypt, Moshe said, you shall not return, for though you see the Egyptians today, you will see them no more forever. To the ones who said, let us set against them a line of battle, Moshe said, contend not, for the victory shall be wrought among you from the presence of the Lord, the
Mm.
glory of the Lord. It's like, ooh, governing glory of the Lord. That's awesome. And to the company that said, let us raise a cry against them, Moshe said, be silent and give the glory and praise and exaltation to your God. And then back to what I felt like this is the modern day church, a perspective of the modern day church. I'm going to look more and more into that, but that's our false perceptions that we have to that we think we should operate on to solve a very dire problem of being slaughtered at the at the Red Sea. And what happened with Moses, I believe that's a picture of modern day leadership in the church age, where Moses were crying out, we were appealing to heaven for God save us kind of thing. And God says, hey, why are you crying out to me? You pick up your staff. You walk in your identity and your authority, and you part the water. Not only did he part the water, but when they all crossed over, he closed the water back up. And it said actually that the some things the Old Testament we read don't say there was like 12 divisions of the water that marked the 12 tribes of Israel. It's like, I mean, everything was so incredibly linked together and significant that's why I want, and then I believe we should really own, there's a fear of the Lord that he's releasing. We've talked about that, but most of us want to go and do our own thing and without inquiring of the Lord. David was the king of inquiring of the Lord, and God always gave him an answer how to deal with the situation. Sometimes he says, go up and I'll give them unto your hands. He operated that for a while. All of a sudden he didn't say that anymore. Go around back, you know. But each time God gave him the directions or the blueprint to walk out whatever he was facing in the earth, just as Moshe did here at the Red Sea and saved a nation. Can a nation be saved in a day by one person?
Yes.
Absolutely. Maybe that one person is you. Maybe that one person is you to save your family or your spouse or your job, your business or your city or your state or your nation or all creation. God, you begin to do and be faithful with a little, all of a sudden he'll expand you territory and give you larger and larger spheres of authority.
Yes.
That's what's exciting to me. Let's get a company of governing co-creators, governors that are mandated to stand for states, cities, states, and nations, and the entire creation. It's like, whoo! What if one of you here is has that calling? How many do you feel like you are? Maybe,
Yep.
we're just in the baby steps of all that. But where can He really take us? The one who sold out to Him and has lost your life for His sake, so you may find it. I believe that's where we're going.
Yeah.
John, you've been kind of quiet over there. What you got going on, buddy?
Well, I recently went to Colorado and I thought, this is going to be great. I went with my family to experience the mountains and have a retreat. And instead of the retreat that I thought I was going to have, I went straight to the hospital and spent the whole time in the hospital.
Uh-huh.
So God's ways are not our ways. But I did meet with him, just not in the way I expected. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's been a process of him showing me himself. A lot of times it's not always just on the mountain high. It's sometimes in a valley low.
Yeah. 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 That's what I always talk about. God has significance in everything we do. My mentor told me years ago, he said, Terry, everything is significant. And if we can find the eternal, except looking for the negative and the demonic and all that, it may be there. But if we can find the eternal in every negative situation, rather than resorting to our traditional false perception as the go-to, we can begin to discover His whys and why He allowed this to happen, just like He did with Pharaoh, set things in place. He set Pharaoh in place for His divine purpose.
Yeah. Well, if
Go
everything
ahead.
if everything was supposed to be easy, we wouldn't be able to govern, because things are hard that we need to govern. So I just think that, I like what one guy said, it's supposed to be hard. you know
Yeah, I've had definitely my share of tough issues, but now they're not so tough. They would seem tough in the natural to anybody, but as I'm focusing on Yahweh and His divine purpose, there's peace and a rest through it. I may have to go through this deal, but He's exposing something in me that is a wicked way that I need to deal with, and so there's this peace and rest and knowing all things work together for the good of those who are of the Lord.
Will we be
Amen.
considering that building up our spiritual muscles, building up character to stand?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Like this, that's the process. I think we're all in shaking, baking, awakening, put the icing on the cake, kind of thing. Yeah, it's amazing. It's really, really good. I'm enjoying it. Pay
Amen.
attention to everything.
Everything.
Yeah. Anybody else? We've been a little over an hour. It's been good. Awesome. Sean, you got anything else you'd like to share? Lady Scott showed up. Look.
I was talking earlier. I was telling you about the Holy Spirit, about the Spirit of wisdom, about taking everything in. That now is the time to use the wisdom that God has given us to move forward in faith.
Yeah, yeah.
I missed you guys.
Love you. Let the seven spirits of God rest upon you. I heard something the other day. There's some prophetic voice. It's not the other day, but a couple years ago. But it said the seven spirits of God are looking for somebody that they can rest upon. It's been generations that haven't allowed the Spirit of God, the seven spirits of God, to rest upon. So Father, we just receive the seven spirits of God to rest upon us. In the name of the Lord, Father, have your way. Do with us whatever you see fit to cause us to come into full maturity, full manifestation of as He is, so are we in this world, so that we can govern creation righteously, not according to our own will, not according to our flesh, but let the seven spirits of God, the fear of the Lord, rest upon us,
Yes,
so that
Lord.
you can train us and equip us to be governors of cities and states and nations and creation. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father.
You know, this next semester we're teaching on the seven spirits of God, and so when I was taking the actual class and learning about each one and the colors they represent and the somewhat genderness of each one and so forth, I made a room in my mountain where I meet with them called the Rainbow Room. So yeah, you can get to know them better. You can sit in wherever you are in the garden of your heart and just be with all of them or one at a time. They're your tutors and they will help to also reveal your blueprint and your destiny scroll. So have at it, go have a blast with them.
Engage them by faith. Purpose
Yeah,
in your heart to
yep,
engage. Yeah, invite them, honor them,
yes,
and we attract what we honor, right?
yes, we do.
There you go.
We create what we speak, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Amen, amen. All right.
I just kind of feel that word of intentional. Be intentional. Be
Absolutely.
intentional.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
In
And
So good,
transformation
Terry.
and transfiguration, just be intentional about what God's doing with you.
mm-hmm. Good word. Yeah,
And John, I hope you feel better.
yeah. You better.
Yeah, John.
Thank you. I am healing remarkably quickly. So the Lord gave me some real keys, and one of them came from Terry with this little Healy device. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but been running this little frequency device, and man, that's made a difference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He's our terraformer. He's have a gardening. Is it
Go
right
for
to
it.
call it a gardening
yeah,
business?
gardening landscape. Yeah,
Gardening landscape. Yeah, that was the
yeah.
word I was missing. Yeah, he's our terraformer. God's practicing him with terraforming the earth.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So you guys have an awesome night. We're gonna
Great being
close
with you.
and
Thanks, Terry. It was great, everybody.
Thank
Blessings.
you.
yeah.
Missed you all. Thank you for your time, Terry.
All right. Yeah. Love you
Amen.
all. See you next time. We'll try to do one next week, middle next week too. And
Yay.
maybe we'll start the 10-minute tutorials for too long. I don't know. I'm transfiguring. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Enjoy your transfiguration process. It's awesome. God bless you guys.
God bless you.
Bless you.
Good night.